Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, this is on. I'm Rhonda Maraca, from Assistant Dean from the Graduate School. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it, taking your time out of your busy day. Before we get started, I just want to remind you that this is part of the Graduate School's workshop series. I'm gonna move over so that's not right in my face. Oh, sorry, I forgot it's recording, so it's probably going to follow me around. That's probably what's going on. So we have today, Dr. Tammy Agard is going to talk to us about Compass. Next Tuesday, we have a workshop on academic personnel. Janet Malfers is going to come and talk to us about student employment for graduate students. And Dr. Duncan will be with us to answer some questions. I know there's always questions about those kind of things before the fall starts. And then the following Tuesday, Stephanie Nielsen is going to do a workshop on the new graduate school tracking program. We've moved that into GEMS, and she's going to be doing some training on that. So if you haven't signed up, if you visit our website, you can still sign up for those. That'd be great. So I'm going to turn it over to Tammy. Thank you so much. Oh, she has mic. So I'm going to be using this mic if you guys have questions a little later, and I'll be running it around to you. So thank you.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? I feel like it's kind of loud. I'll try not to talk too loud. Okay. Well, welcome. I admire you for coming to this session this morning to learn about Compass. I want to give you a little bit of background about me. And I am actually, as Rhonda said, I'm an Associate Vice President for Enrollment Management. I'm also the functional lead for the Compass program. And we'll talk about what the Compass program actually means throughout this session. Prior to coming to UF about 4 years ago, I was at the University of Wyoming, where I served as the registrar. I was also a financial aid director at the same time for a couple of years. I did a system implementation while I was there, so I got to do that. Little did I know when I got hired here, that was one of the things that put me over the top, is that I had already done a system implementation, which I swore I'd never do again, but here we are, you know. But it was a great time, and I learned a lot, and I'm hoping that the University of Florida will benefit from the mistakes I made previously, and so I won't make those mistakes again. I also spent a great deal of time in the graduate school. I was a graduate admissions coordinator for a while. And so I've done graduate admissions, I've done I-20s, I've done all of the tracking for students who are provisionally admitted, that kind of thing. I also, immediately after leaving the graduate school, I was what they titled a degree analyst, which I did graduation checks for both undergraduates and graduate students. So I checked requirements, I loaded thesis and dissertations onto the system, and programmed a degree audit system. Took about a year of my life out of that to program a degree audit system that was used for both undergraduate and graduate students. About 200 majors, minors, certificate programs that we did for that. So it was a good experience. So I guess that's one of the reasons that, you know, I feel like I have kind of a rounded idea, not only about undergraduate but graduate education. So I'm hoping that this lends some credibility to some of the things I'm saying to you today, but also gives you a sense where I'm coming from and that I have some understanding of the things, not quite on the size and scale that you have, but definitely the requirements that you're facing as graduate coordinators. So I just want to take a little temperature of the room. I want you to kind of throw out some words that you would use to describe how you're feeling or where you are right now when somebody talks to you about the Compass program. And I have little treats, so speak up. So just no information, right? Very good. What else? Anybody? Blind? Blind. Oh, that's a good one. Who else? Curious. Oh, these are great words. I'm going to give some of these to Rhonda to hand out. So curious. What else? Oh, okay. So you're maybe a little nervous about the increased workload and maybe doing some double duty. That's understandable. What else? Anyone? Clear in the back. Streamlining. So you're looking forward to streamlining. Very good. Okay. So that anxious. Yeah, anxious. That's common. What else? Here we've got one anxious right here. Anybody else? I've got these fish. Those of you who are real anxious, you can squeeze on them. They're little stress balls. Sometimes you might feel like a fish out of water. That's why these are here. Or there's a quote that's attributed maybe to Albert Einstein, who knows. It says, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So sometimes I think we feel like we're fish trying to climb a tree as well when we embark on a new system like this. Any other words? Waiting. So you're just kind of waiting for it to happen. Okay? That could be either positive or negative. Anybody else?
High expectations.
High expectations. Oh, wow. Wow, Al, he set the bar really high for us, didn't he? Okay. Anyone else just dying to say something? I'm not going to put you under any pressure. Anybody just so stressed out that you just need a stress ball? I don't want to say anything. I just need the stress ball. Okay, well, we'll go on from there. Research into change talks about how it's not just about the information. Now, I'm going to give you lots of information today, but we also have to acknowledge how we feel about it. We really need to address those feelings. And it's okay to have those feelings. And we'll work through it. At the end of this, I want to show you a fun little video that talks about change. But I don't want you to beat yourself up because you might be feeling anxious, or you might be feeling like, I'm just in the dark here, or I'm worried about an increased workload, or I'm worried about all these things. Don't beat yourself up about that. That's pretty normal in this process. And so let's just work through it and acknowledge those feelings and see what we can do to help you. Got some great change people here in the room who are going to help guide us through that whole process, either through information or through other activities. And so that we're not only talking about the system itself and having things done to you. We want you to be a partner in this. We want you to feel like you have a voice and that your needs are being met, but not just saying, oh, they just did it to me, rather than me being a part of it. Okay? So also during this, we're going to have some questions, a little bit of trivia, kind of break up the monotony. I was telling Rhonda, I've given this session many times, and so I have to mix it up a little bit just for my own sake, my own sanity, because I tend to get a little bored with saying the same things over and over again. But by show of hands, how many of you have attended one of the information sessions where I've talked about this? So we've got a handful. Well, those of you, it will be a little bit of a repeat in some areas, but other things you'll be able to get a sneak peek into some things and an update to see that we have actually been doing some things over the past few months. And the last information sessions I think we gave were back in February. And so things have changed quite a bit since then. We've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. So let's go from there. Any questions before I get started? Is this what you anticipated, or you don't know yet? Okay, by the way, I'm not a coffee drinker. I am just like this. So if it's something you, oops, okay. I don't know why. Oh, I pushed the wrong button. Okay. So today's session, I'd like to frame what I talk about in the 4 Ps. There's a researcher named William Bridges who talks about transitions and how you're transitioning from the old way to the new way. And he says everyone who is part of this needs to know the 4 Ps. The purpose, so why are we doing what we're doing? They need to have a picture of what's it going to look like, what's it going to be. They need to know that there's a plan for how we get there. And they need to know what their part is. So we're going to frame this in those 4 areas. So as we go, that's where you'll be hearing more about. So why are we doing this? So I'm going to ask you, why do you think this is the standard stuff that we put out in the administrative memo, but why would you think we would be doing this? And it's not to torture you. That's not one of these up here. So anyone want to shout something out? Why do you think we're embarking down this large, multi-year, multi-dollar endeavor? Excuse me? Bring things up to date? Yeah? That's the benefit of the students? Yes. Any?
Serve all our stakeholders.
So not just students, serving also faculty and staff as well. Very good. Better security. Yes. As we see every day on the news, there's always security issues. We've got to make sure that we're secure. We've been in a very stable environment with the mainframe, with NERDC, and we've been very fortunate to have that. But the technology has advanced from there, and there are needs that we need to do as far as mainframe, as far as retiring it. We need to make sure that we all have the security piece that's listed there. We've been doing a lot of work on the front end to try to connect to the old system. And the old system has served us very, very well. Excuse me, I have a little, cough. It's allergy seasons for me. So it served us very well. But it's time for us to go to a new suite of tools. And when I talk about the Compass program, I truly am talking about a suite of tools, not just a student information system, not just NERDC. So there are things that we can do. One of the biggest frustrations that we hear from people when we've talked to them across campus has to do with the data, access to data. And in many instances, our discussions with colleges, with departments, with programs, they have actually built up very sophisticated systems just to get access to data that they need to do their jobs. And in many ways, I think GEMS was an outcropping of that as well. And just because mainframe systems are very good at storing information, but not always the easiest to get that information back out and in a usable format. So one of the guiding principles of this endeavor is to free the data. So with appropriate security surrounding it, we want to make sure that individuals have access to the data that they need to make appropriate decisions and go forward. Okay. Oops. That was not what I wanted to do. Sorry. So many of you, if you've been in my presentations before, if you've been out to our website, which is compass.ufl.edu, you have actually seen this diagram. This diagram has been moved off the front page of the Compass website, but it is still there available in a tab called About the Program. This diagram, infographic, gives us information about what is included in the Compass program. I'll talk in detail about each one of these, but I did want to kind of just go through and let you see why it's laid out the way it is. We have 3 main pillars. So those are the big blue circles inside the other circle. That is the student information system. the Constituent Relationship Management System, or CRM, and then the Learning Ecosystem. Now, the Learning Ecosystem is outside the scope of what I'm doing. There's another group that's focusing on that, but we do like to introduce it because it is a part of the entire program. In the middle, you'll see 3 orange square things, rounded squares, or rectangles. There's OneUF, and OneUF is that self-service interface that will be designed not only for students, but also faculty and staff who have a very light touch to the system. So they may not have to go in. For example, I'm a faculty member, I need to grade. I don't need to be burdened with going in through the administrative side of a system to try to post my grades. I should be able to do that very simply through a self-service portal, which is OneUF. How many of you have used the time approval piece on OneUF currently? Okay, so we've had a couple that have done that. And that's was the first feature that was developed, and it was for supervisors to be able to go in and approve time. And that's the kind of functionality. Now, maybe many of you have seen the schedule of courses or the registration area that the students are seeing out on OneUF. In fact, they are loving that. They're just about ready to release degree audit as well in OneUF. So that's where we have determined that a lot of those self-service capabilities will be displayed to students, faculty, and staff. In the center, you've all been in MyUFL to do HR things. Those that have a heavier touch in the system, those of you who had access to NerdC and needed to go in and see things in a deeper level, will access that through MyUFL. So it won't change significantly. There'll just be some additional features that are added for you that have access to that. And then there's the reporting and analytics. As I talked about, a guiding principle of free the data. We want to make sure that not only that the data is available, but we do it in a way that allows you to visualize that data, to run analysis on the data, so that you're actually using the data as information to guide decisions in your areas. So we're currently doing a lot with reporting. In fact, we have a reporting lead on the team who is going around and talking with individuals about reporting needs. He's analyzing, and they're working very, very closely on building out a strong data warehouse, but also using some good reporting tools. Those of you who have limped along with the old Cognos and found how it's not very intuitive, there is a new version. They call it Cognos, but they really shouldn't even call it that because it's so different from the old. So we're really looking forward to revolutionizing how you get access to the data that you need. So surrounding this, you'll see a big circle that goes on, and there are 2 areas. One's called student data governance. The other one underneath is called master data management. And I'll talk specifically about that, but that's really about how we store our data, how we manage it, what level of data that is. And like I said, I'll get into detail in each of these. So many of you have probably seen this graphic before. We just like this because it gives you an idea at a snapshot what the program entails. Any questions? Don't hesitate to stop me. I do kind of start to talk fast and get on a roll, but if there's something that I do not get distracted, so please just jump in if you have a question. We have a mic here that we can get it on the recording, or I can repeat it back so it'll be on the recording for others. Okay, so let's start with the student information system. This tends to be the big elephant in the room because it is a large implementation. We are replacing ISIS, NerdC, the student information system with a third-party vendor product, which is Oracle Campus Solutions. This Oracle Campus Solutions is really the gold standard for institutions of our size and complexity. If you look across the country, at not only our comparator institutions, but many of our aspirational institutions, you will find that most of them are using Campus Solutions. There's really two players in the field. There's the Banner product and Campus Solutions. We found that Campus Solutions really suits us best. And so the decision was made to go with Campus Solutions. It's a 3-year project, which started in January. We kicked this off, and we have actually had a team working very diligently since early March in outlining requirements. How many of you have been called into a session, either for your college or for certain requirement gathering sessions? Maybe not yet. Some have. Some have been in there. Okay, great. That's good. So we are looking at, there are representatives from each of the colleges that either have been identified or will be identified. We will post that information. So if you have comments or questions, you can see, if you want to see what the level of engagement has been with your college or with your area, then feel free to look at that on the website. There is a tab called Outreach that looks at the college engagement sessions. We will be, like I said, we'll be identifying those college representatives. So you'll be able to say, okay, hey, where are we? Or provide feedback to them if there are specific concerns. Then there's the constituent relationship management system. There's a lot of work that's currently being done with this. Anybody know what a CRM is? Can you tell me what a CRM is? Perfect, perfect. So it is, as she said, it's a database that allows you to interact, and it's taken from business primarily. Higher ed is getting on board in the CRM world, and it's a way for you to control the interactions that you have. How many of you shop on Amazon? I'd say almost all of us do, right? And how many have had an encounter when you purchase something on Amazon, and then the next time you go in there, or even immediately, it says, people like you have also purchased this. And they offer up things that you might also be interested in, whether it's books from the same author or in the same genre, or other products that you bought. How do they know that? How do they know that? It's based on a very powerful CRM on the back end, gathering information about consumers and then serving up opportunities to the customer to continue their shopping. Now, that's a very corporate model. We're obviously going to be doing that. But when we look at a CRM system, we're looking at ways that we can better engage with our students so that we know about them from the time they become a prospect all the way through when they're an alumnus. So we need to gather information. As she said, you can even, as you're gathering information based on certain behaviors, you can score their interest, and then you can offer up additional information to them. The CRM is really exciting. It has been needed for a long time. And many of you in very competitive graduate programs who are wanting to do some sophisticated recruiting, you've been really needing this. I know the College of Business has been using Salesforce product. Other areas like engineering have been very anxious to start that endeavor as well. So we are trying to provide you with those tools and doing it in a way that is on an enterprise-wide solution so that we can give you access not only to interests that might come from the outside, but also maybe able to recruit our own wonderful UF grads who are progressing through programs. So it's a way for us to do some automated communication as well. I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into what we have with the CRM and what has been done, so as we get a little further down the road. So you can see that there are things that are going live next month with respect to the CRM at the undergraduate level. But we'll be working with graduates very, very soon. I'm not going to read all this stuff on the slides to you. I figure you can read that yourself. And I'll also provide a copy for Rhonda. So we'll just distribute that out based on your registration. So you can have a copy of these slides. Okay? All right. So I think it's time for a trivia question. So we've talked a little bit about the Student Information System, the Campus Solutions product. I want someone to tell me, I'm going to go by the first answer that I hear, and I have these wonderful ribbons, say winner on it. So be a winner. Okay, so based on this, Campus Solutions, in Campus Solutions, a college is called A, an academic college, B, an academic group, C, an academic faculty. I heard group over here. That is correct. So I will click on this. Are we ready for another question? You want to move on? You're get rolling there. All right. In Campus Solutions, graduate, undergraduate, and professional are grouped into A, careers, B, levels, or C, classifications. Pardon me? Levels. No. Last one. Who shouted it out? Careers. I heard careers right here. It is actually careers. So this is just to help you say that we are going to need to learn a new lexicon as we're working in some of these new systems. Now, I'll talk later about master data management and how that's going to help us mitigate some of that, but I did want you to kind of get a feel for the fact that we are going to need to learn something new, which can be fun, right? Learning is fun. All right, so any questions, comments about CRM? Do you see a need? Do you see where this can fulfill a need that you've had for a long time in your area? And we're not just talking about recruitment and admissions. We're talking long-term tracking of students as well. So as we look at some of those functionalities that may have appeared outside in other systems, they might have a better home in a CRM system so that we can use that data to communicate well. And then you can pull data out of it and do your predictive analysis. You might say, okay, students who have applied to us and do this, this, and this are more likely to enroll. So you might be able to do some of that predictive analysis so that you work smarter with those students who are more likely to yield, who are more likely to accept your offer to your programs, or more likely to be successful in your programs long term. So looking at bringing in that student data and running it against that student data to see what success you're looking at. Okay? All right. Next area is the learning ecosystem. So I'm doing the three big rocks that are in the middle of that diagram. Learning ecosystem is more about the teaching and learning side. Pedro Zazueta and his group are working on this. The first piece of this is complete with the migration from Sakai to Canvas. So, but it's not just that piece. It's also how do we use Canvas in a way that is most effective for the teaching and learning process? How do we use the data that's in Canvas to help us become smarter about our teaching? How are we achieving the outcomes? How are our students being prepared down the road for the next class in line, or for graduation, or for eventually careers. It's also about content development. So our partnership in Unison, our collaboration in the Unison partnership, really is more about the content development, as well as perhaps even monetizing that content, so that as the faculty develop things, it can be used, it can be shared, it can be even monetized and sold at other areas. We have great faculty doing great teaching, and how do we make that better and use it? And then the data analytics, I talked a little bit about that as well. So those are the three areas in the learning ecosystem, but they're part of Compass program, not part of my responsibility. Then there's 1UF. I talked a little bit about this earlier. It is to replace the current system formerly known as ISIS, now called Student Self-Service. And it's a way to make an experience that is consistent for our students. So we actually started this early so that as we change from our old student information system to a new student information system, the registration process will not change dramatically for the student. It'll be more like an update to an app. And so they're used to having those updates to say, oh, okay, things look a little different, or they might be in a different place. One of the big questions that we've had that we are very aware of is to make sure that individuals who are working with the students have access to some sort of student view, so they can see what the students are seeing. We want to make sure that you're not in the dark there saying, well, I don't have access to that, so I don't know where you need to go to do that particular function as you're trying to do your job and assist students. We all know that you want to do the best you can to assist students, and there's nothing more frustrating than not being able to see what the student sees. Now, it may not be that individual student. It may just be Alberta, or Albert in just a general area, but being able to go out and see, okay, you need to click here, you need to click here, this is what it looks like. So as you're talking to a student, you can appropriately advise them and counsel them on what to do. So we've heard lots of comments about that, and that's something that we're definitely have on our radar and make sure that we do have something available for you. It also is, we're very cognizant of the frustration some of our students have. For example, currently, they have to look on the student self-service feature, formerly known as ISIS, to look and see what financial aid they've got. And then they have to log into MyUFL to see what their bill is. And then make the calculations themselves. They owe, or what their credit balance might be. And that's silly, that's frustrating for students. So that's one of the areas where we want them to be able to see a consolidated view that's mobile friendly. Have you ever seen a student walking around with their phone trying to scroll in MyUFL and scroll over here? And maybe you've done it. Either with your phone or your tablet, trying to use MyUFL. So we're trying to make that mobile friendly so that people can get the job done and not be burdened by administrative systems. That should be as invisible behind the scenes as possible. Okay? Any questions about MyUFL? Pretty exciting. All right, so then I talked about reporting and analytics. So I'm talking about those three areas that in the orange. I'm not going to talk much about MyUFL because you all have worked in MyUFL. But our reporting and analytics, as I said, this is really about freeing the data. This is about getting data out there so that you can use it. One of our goals is to reduce the number of secondary systems that are across campus. And if there are data that can be stored centrally, as long as you can have access to it, then there's no need for you to store it separately with all the security risks and everything else that are involved with maintaining a separate system. So that's really one of the main goals of this, is to reduce some of those secondary shadow systems that you're having to maintain. And we've found out in some of our inquiries that we have individuals who are actually running reports or getting reports out of it and then manually loading it into their databases. And that's just what we've had to do because the support wasn't there. But our goal is so that you won't have to do that. Now, if there are appropriate systems that need to be interfaced with, maybe there's something really, really unique that needs to be interfaced with, that's part of this process of identifying those interfaces as well. But where we can reduce those secondary systems or eliminate them altogether is really better for the institution. It's better for you. It's real time. It'll be real-time data. You know, those kinds of things that will help you to do your job rather than relying on a secondary system. Any question about reporting and analytics? We're kind of in the era of big data. Oh, was there a question? I'm sorry.
And I've gone through gyms, and then they were, and you know, if you're looking at somebody who came in 1979, they were entered differently. So then you got to call somebody to make sure you're capturing all the data.
Right.
Are all alums going to be put in there?
So because we are responsible for generating transcripts, we need to know all the students. So that really is as far back. And in fact, they're continuing to load those old PRCs, the public or record cards. They call them PRCs. We called them hard cards back in my old day, but the old record cards. And they're loading that information and continuing to load as far back as they can. So yes, that's really important that we have that data. And one of the things I think that's been really frustrating with people with the current data warehouse has been that certain pieces of data are there, but others are not. And so it becomes completely unusable if you're really trying to tie a bunch of things together. So we are looking at developing a more comprehensive data warehouse that will not just have the admissions piece fully functional and parts of student records, but really give you a better view. Now, decisions are being made about certain areas. For example, there are legal requirements as to how long you keep certain types of data. Financial data is one of them. And so looking at making sure that we don't go back any further than we absolutely have to. Now, some areas in the current student record system, it may be that we don't keep it all into Campus Solutions, but we warehouse it some way and then provide an ability to access that information as needed. That provides a nice security blanket for people to have that out there to say, well, I might need it, so don't get rid of it altogether. So those decisions are currently being made, but definitely wherever we have to produce a transcript, which would include graduation information, that information needs to be in the student information system, needs to be in Campus Solutions. Okay, any other questions? All right, I think it's time for another trivia question. You ready? In Campus Solution, a department is called A, an academic department, B, academic group, or C, academic organization. Shout it out. That's right. Who said that? Way in the back. It is called an academic organization. Now, one of the things that we find about Campus Solutions is this is a worldwide product. And so terminology is not always consistent from nation to nation or institution to an institution. So while we call it academic organization, when we go into the next area where I talk about master data management, we're going to talk about how we can create our own UF definitions for that. So while Campus Solutions calls it academic organization, we can still refer to it as department in the master data management if that's the decision that's been made, so that we know that, okay, and we have those crosswalks. We know that, okay, academic organization information will go into the department field. Okay, Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't advance to see what the winner was. Okay, next one. Camp prerequisites are called A, enrollment requirements, B, academic milestones, or C, learning requisites. This one's tougher. It was tough for me to come up with some of the learning requisites. No. Excuse me? They are enrollment requirements. I heard that from someone. Oh, sorry. Who does that? What is a presenter? Does not turn off their cell phone. Sorry. It's my husband. You should know better. Okay. So they are enrollment requirements. So it helps us to know if there are prerequisites for a specific course. I think it was up front here. She already has one. Oh, okay. She's not going to be a double winner today. She just needs to be one winner. Okay. Okay. All right. We'll get her a fish instead. Whoops. All right. So we did reporting and analytics. Let's move on to student data governance and master data management. Now, these are two different things. But they're related. Student data governance is a structure at the university that governs all student data. It is a set of data stewards and work groups that make decisions about definitions for data, uses of data, how that is governed at the university. So that is a structure, and it's UF specific. The master data management is a technology. That's the tool whereby we will create a data hub so that as decisions are made as to what that thin layer of data that needs to be stored in the hub, that you can access consistently. So let's say, for example, enrollment information. How many different places do you go for enrollment? You might go to the registrar's office and get one answer. You go to OIPR and get a different answer. You may have something specific for yours. And you might be trying to either write a report for a governing body, an accreditor. You might be trying to write, faculty trying to just include that information on a grant application. And it can be extremely confusing. So what we want to do is not only define the data that we consider master data, which will include student information, so all the information about the student, including majors, departments, all of that, but also course information, which is being defined as master data as well. And so that will be collected regardless of the system where it originates from. So some of this might originate in the student information system, others might originate in the registry, others might originate in the CRM, but regardless of where it is, it will come in, it will be fed in, and it will be in an area where it can be reported back out. So when you think of a hub and spoke, this will be the hub of information about students. Now, this master data management concept has already been started in the research area. Stephanie Gray started this and has been working on this concept for quite some time in mastering data that is specific to research. And so we're doing the same thing with student data. Now, you think of research data, it's a much smaller subset than the large data that is student data. So we're working on that very diligently to create those common definitions, those UF definitions. So when I said it doesn't really matter that academic colleges or departments in Campus Solutions are called academic organizations, we can still define that in the Master Data Management Hub in terminology that we all understand, or that some of our areas like the BOG need to have it reported out. That makes sense? This is one of those fuzzy concepts that it's taken me a while to even get my head around it, So if you're feeling like, well, I kind of think I know what it means, but I'm not certain, that's okay. It kind of takes a while to get that whole concept. But if you think about it as a hub where you're going to be able to tie in and get information on a consistent basis that has been defined, you'll be able to know what those definitions are. So if you're accessing that data, you'll be able to know, okay, when I say full-time student, this is what it means. So that as you're reporting that back out, you can use that information appropriately. Okay? All right, so we've talked about, I've given you a picture. So we talked about the purpose, why we're doing it. We talked about what's included. Now it's time to talk about the plan. How are we going to get where we need to go? All right? So we have a 5-year timeline on implementation. And what we've done is the Campus Solutions piece, we have set a fall 2008 term go live. Now, what does that mean? When we say we set the fall 2018, sorry, I'm 10 years behind, fall 2018 go live. So when we say that, we say, okay, for fall 2018, when do we need to have registration available? Well, we need to have registration available in the spring of 2018. When do we need to be able to package financial aid? We need to be able to do that early spring, March-ish, February, March of 2018. So what you do is you pick your go live term and then you back up from there and establish various release go lives, and releases are types of functionality. So it could be registration and degree audit. It could be classroom scheduling and course scheduling. So not only the room scheduling piece, but also scheduling the courses in Campus Solutions. So in order for that to be available for the fall, it needs to be ready in fall of 17. We need to have catalog loaded. You see how that goes. We back up. And we have to have, for example, we need to have application for admission ready no later than August of 2017 so that we can have those available for everyone. Does that make sense? So other pieces like the CRM and room scheduling software, an application for admission, will actually fit into that as well. And our great folks who are sitting up here on this row have created a timeline that I'm actually going to show you when we get a little further down. But I want to kind of walk you through how we're getting to this point, where we can have these release go lives. How are we getting there? So first, we're having these interactive design and prototyping sessions. We have hired or partnered with a third-party implementer. The name is Sierra Cedar. They have several folks that are dedicated to this, the Campus Solutions piece of the Compass program. IDP is part of their methodology for implementation. And it's where we gather a lot of requirements. We have lots and lots and lots of meetings. We sit in and we talk about functions. We talk about how do you do each of these pieces, and then determine, okay, what fits into Campus Solutions, but also it's a little bit different because we have this suite of tools. We're not just talking Campus Solutions. We might say, oh, this is a better fit in the CRM, or this is a better fit in our master data management hub, our data hub. So we're looking at an entire program, but working very, very closely with those. How many of you have been in a student journey mapping session or business process analysis session? I know Al has. So we've had a few of you that have done some of these. So journey mapping sessions, they actually get a big piece of white paper and they have all these sticky notes that have different categories. And you map out the current student process. And how are you, everything from prospect all the way through enrollment, graduate degree certification, graduation. So they get in the room and they move them around and they have discussions, and this is how we do things. These are our data needs. This is a system that we're doing this in. So it's a way for us to not only identify processes, it's a way for us to identify secondary systems, and then there's some follow-up on reporting needs, where the individuals, the groups, the colleges are indicating what their reporting needs are as well, which are serving, as I talked about James, who's working on reporting, serves as a good launching point for him to have those discussions about data reporting for across colleges, but specific to colleges as well. So we're examining the current state of things. And then really reviewing. We're doing some, and as we get to the end of this, as we do some design and prototyping, which is part of this. It's not just gathering requirements. It's actually building something and seeing how it works. As we do that, we'll be reporting back to those colleges and other units as well to say, okay, this is what we thought. This is how we think it's going to work. This is what we prototyped. What do you think about that? And so it really is an interactive design, which is pretty exciting. So it's not just a couple people in the room, in a room saying, well, we think this will work for you guys, so we're just going to build it. No, it's really gathering a lot of information. And we have had representatives from the graduate school in areas, but also representatives from colleges talking about graduate processes as well. So it's not just undergraduate focus. I want you to be very clear on that. We're not just talking undergraduate. We're talking professional schools, graduate students, as well as undergrad. CRM. So this started actually this spring. We are using the Salesforce platform. So we have I know business is currently using it. Engineering was looking to buy it. I think education has already bought it, but not implemented it. So there were several units on campus that were already either pharmacy, I think, is using it. They were further down the road, and so rather than saying, oh, we're going to do a whole new tool, we decided we would go enterprise-wide with Salesforce. We have contracted with a third party called EnrollmentRx, which develops the views for higher education. So they are specific in the higher education space. Those of you who understand Salesforce, it's a huge global company. In fact, I'm going to the Salesforce conference in October, and little did I realize that I think I'm going to be staying in San Jose or someplace. It's in San Francisco, and you're supposed to immediately get a room, because I always register for the conference and then think, oh yeah, I'll get a room sometime, later. I don't know where I'm going to be staying. I'm going to be sleeping on somebody's couch, I think. But it's just a huge company, and there's a lot of people doing some pretty incredible things with Salesforce. So we're excited about this. This piece, I'll actually give you a sneak peek into this, some of the things that have been done so far. We're starting with undergraduate recruiting, but close on the heels of that will be graduate recruiting. So we will go live next month, actually, with undergraduate recruiting and some of the communication pieces, event management pieces, and then immediately we will bring in people to start talking about graduate recruiting. So if there are people out here who are interested in being part of that, talk to your either your associate dean in charge of graduate or whatever, but we'd love to have some of that. We actually brought in Brian Karsinski from pharmacy. They've been using Salesforce and done a lot of things with it, and he's just been invaluable on the team. We brought him in part-time to the implementation team, and it's just been an incredible experience to have someone with his knowledge and skill set and experience using the tool in on the team. So it's been great, but we want to know how it needs to be designed how you want to use it. So I know that engineering will be one of our first people at the table, because they're very, very excited about getting rolling with recruiting at the graduate level. But they're not the only ones. Others will be there as well. So I want to make sure that we give that opportunity. Okay, I want to, if I can't get this to work. This is the timeline that's available on the Compass website. And I give a lot of credit to Kathy, who's sitting right up there, and Angie, who've done a lot of work with their staff on creating this timeline, because I think it's fabulous. It's easy to read. It is, so you've got your legend on the side that lets you know which system we're talking about, whether it's student information system, CRM, whatever. And it is talks about everything from the kickoff all the way through to what started happening. So when you look at all these things, and it gives you kind of a general time frame. Some of them have specific months. Others just say spring, because we're not tied to that. But so you can, and it's mobile friendly, so you can look at it on your device. And some of them have more than one, so not only student information, but also the reporting piece. So it's really great. So this gives you an idea of all these pieces. Now, this is by no means complete. There will be other things that will be added to this timeline. So as you can see, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. But, for example, I'm looking at this grad and professional, so looking at summer of 2017, this is for the CRM, grad and professional, UF Online recruiting, prospecting, go live, as well as integration with the graduate application. So here are a couple pieces that we're going to be doing in the summer of 2017. So it gives you an idea of what you can expect at certain times of in the process or in the program. Any questions about this timeline? Yes. We're not using Pardot. We're using the Marketing Cloud. We have contracted with Marketing Cloud, not Pardot, but it has the same functionality as Pardot. Yes. So when you're talking prospecting, you're talking about those things where requests for information, as well as if you're doing any list buys, any of those things as well. Okay. Any questions on this timeline? I encourage you to use the website, encourage you to go out and see this information. There's also places where you can, if you're not already part of the email newsletter, you can put your name on there and get the email newsletter, which gives you great information, including stories about individuals who are on the project, and just different things about what's being released. The newsletter is really, really exciting. There are stories listed from the newsletter on the website as well, under the news section. So I definitely encourage you to do that. There's places for you to put comments if you have questions. You know, this is a way for you to be engaged. If you have questions or concerns, but maybe don't know who to address them to, go out and put them on the website. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure that we're addressing that, even if it's just, hey, I'm nervous about increased workload or training. When's training going to happen? Or things like that. We need to make sure that we're communicating effectively. We've got we're developing a huge change management plan, which includes communication, which includes training. We have a training lead who's been in on many of the sessions, who's looking at how are we going to train people on these sessions. So we're trying to do this in a way that will provide just-in-time training for you, because we know that this can be stressful. It can be really stressful. You're an expert in what you do, and we want to make sure that you do it just as effectively in the new system. Okay? All right. Are we ready for some more trivia? Or are you burned out on that? I'm cool. Either way. Trivia. Okay. Oops. I don't want that one. All right. Somebody wants to earn a ribbon so they can take it back and say they're a winner. All right. In-campus solution classifications, such as freshman, sophomore, graduate, are called what? A, careers, B, levels, C, progressions. Louder. Not progressions. Careers. Not the, it's levels. You are right. Did you already have a ribbon? You have a ribbon now. It is actually called a level. Oh, but careers. What did I do? Classifications are called careers. I'm sorry. I did that wrong. Just keep that. Who had, who said careers first? Who shouted out careers? I heard it. Over here? Did you say careers? Come on. Own up to it. Who said it? We had one that said it right here. Did you have a winner, chicken dinner? Did I? Yes, I'm sorry. It is levels, right. I'm sorry. I put the wrong, highlighted the wrong answer on there as I was doing this at really early this morning when I decided that this would be fun to do. It actually is levels. So the career is where you have a grouping of all your coursework. And so a transcript level, that's your career. That's your career. So if I'm a graduate student progressing toward a master's degree, I am in the graduate career. If I am a freshman, that's my level. Or if I am a first year graduate, master's student, that's my level. So I highlighted the wrong one. It is level. All right, let's see if I can redeem myself here. In Campus Solutions, majors are called A majors, B programs, C plans. Not programs. Plans. Who said plans? I heard plans. You keep answering. You've got all these. Have you been sitting in on our sessions? This is awesome. Yeah, so they are called plans. They are called plans. In
What's the rationale for using terminology that's completely different than what the university uses?
So this is what the system has. This is how it's delivered. So that makes the rationale for the question was, what's the rationale for using terminologies that's completely different than what the university uses? Each piece of software is going to have their own terminology based on what their business model, how they've created it. It's going to have their own. That's why the MDM is so important, so that we can standardize that based on the UF way. But you're going to have to learn a new language. As you use new systems, you learn a new language. It's kind of like if you're using a new email system, you have to learn what it calls certain things.
But I think with an email system, send forward,
There are some that are standardized.
I don't understand the difficulty in changing. I mean, I'm completely familiar with databases and these types of programs, and making a change from one heading to another, one category to another, is not a difficult thing. It cannot be customizable to the university.
One of the things, and that's a great question. Can these things be customized to the UF way? One of the things that we're really trying not to do is do a lot of customizations. Because the more you change something, every time a new release comes out, you have to go in and try to do all those upgrades. There's a lot of time spent on that, and it costs money to do that. So we're trying to do it as vanilla as possible. And if we need to have some bolt-ons to do certain functions, but really not going through in the database and changing a bunch of terminology, using the system as delivered, but doing other things that we can do it in a way that delivers the information in a way that you understand it as well. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. We're not building a system, we are implementing a system. So there's a difference there. And we're coming from a world where we've been able to customize everything because it was homegrown. But we're going into a world where it's a delivered system from a vendor. And so while I'm not saying it's impossible to do it, the cost benefit analysis on trying to, because we're going to be in upgrade mode, you know, every few years or even less, we might be doing an upgrade, but then that requires all of that programming to happen again. So we need to be careful. So we're making very judicious decisions. I'm not saying that everything is going to be straight vanilla out of Campus Solutions or any of the other products, but we are really being careful about those decisions that we make. Right.
And while the learning management system, I suppose, potentially reaches a lot more people than this sort of back-end administrative system does, it seems like it's mission critical enough to maybe be more consideration.
Well, we will look, well, certainly all of those things are being considered. I'm not saying it's, like I said, completely, but some things, depending on the cost-benefit analysis, will be determined. Those decisions will be made. And as it'll get to a point where those of you who have learned to speak Nerdsy, who've learned to know which screen to look at and where to go, you'll learn very quickly. I knew when I had made it during my last implementation, when I had to really think about what that old screen was in the old green screen system. When I had to think, was that on 111 or what was that screen? I knew that I had finally learned to speak the new language when I did that. So I'm not saying that it's completely impossible, but I do want to set realistic expectations about it. And let's see how it goes. We're not creating a new system. We're not programming a new homegrown system. We are using a vendor-provided product. Yes, sir. I don't think our publications or any of that will change. We just will have to make those translations. We did the same thing at my old institution. They were called programs. That's why I had programs up there. The new system in Banner called them programs. And so we would still refer to them as majors, but we just knew that when you were working administratively, you went into the program field to indicate what the major was. So you do those translations. It's not as, and I'm sorry, I know that causes a lot of consternation about it, but it is something that, let me find where I am supposed to be. There. Yes, ma'am. They will be listed as, when they see it when it's delivered to them through 1UF, I don't know. I don't know if those decisions have been made yet, and whether those will be translated through 1UF or will be shown as a plan. Because we're vending it through 1UF, as opposed to the self-service functionality that's available through Campus Solutions. It may be that there's a possibility to translate that. I'm not sure that those decisions have been made at this time. But I know Toby's working on it. They're just currently doing the academic advising IDP sessions. Those are just going on right now. And so I don't know that the prototyping of that is even occurred yet. So that's a great question. Would someone write that question down? Kathy, would you write that down? And we'll see what we can get back to you, okay? Mm-hmm. All right. So, gyms. So this is the big elephant in the room, I'm sure. So, as we've talked about it, we are currently reviewing the functionality that is in gyms. However, with the change in the data structure, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to retrofit gyms to a new system. So we're looking at, just as we do with every other process, we're looking for the appropriate home to that. So whether that be in the CRM, there may be information that's available in CRM. It may be in the data hub, in the data warehouse. There might be a lot of that information that should be in the data warehouse. But these are some things that we have, concerns that we've heard, that you need to be able to have a usable interface. You need something that's usable, not something that's real clunky and that you can't find what you need to get to. You can't lose the functionality. You need to be able to continue on with your business processes. You can't lose that functionality. You don't want to log into multiple systems. I don't know if that's something that you're doing now. I think GIMS is a separate login. So you're wanting to be able to log in one place and be able to have access through MyUFL or whatever. You want to be able to have access to that GIMS functionality. You want real-time data integrations with the student information, including thesis and dissertation submissions. So being able, as you're doing some, especially in the graduate school, doing graduation clearance or maybe doing it out in the colleges, you need to know that the student has submitted that. So that's a third-party system that you need to be able to know that certain milestones have been achieved, including thesis and dissertation submission. And it's not just about student data. There's a lot of faculty data that is in GIMS. So these are some things that I have heard about this. I know that we've got a person who's working 95% from the graduate school, and her main focus is okay, how do we look at what GIMS functionality is out there and where is the best home for that so that we can continue to do business and do it in a way that you can get things done that you need to do. And these are that's where she gave me some of these concerns that I've heard. You want to add anything to that or? Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, there will be varying levels of security as far as what individuals have access to. So if we're going to pull faculty data, which there are many areas that do, like for promotion and tenure, there are some things that we may be able to leverage in that. And so depending on where it lives, we will put the appropriate security. So it's not going to be an all or nothing. So if someone only needs to do faculty information, then they shouldn't have access to student records. And that's the former registrar coming out in me, with respect to. Sure. Yep. It might be that they have to know committees and things like that. Yes.
Jen is the person that's 95% of time in contact. So, and Deanne Anselm is also working very closely.
She's doing 50% on the project. So
there's lots of discussion and lots of input. So anything you guys have would be very
Yep. Oh yes, I'm sorry. So on for that Jen Hubbs, who replaced Rim Jim, she's the new Rim Jim. So she is 95% on the Compass program, as well as Gan Enholm, who is working 50% on the program. So they are there as specifically focused on functionality that's currently in GIMS, where is the best home for it. And in fact, Jan is the one who provided me some of these. I'd heard some of them before, but she provided some of them as well, just to make sure that we all were on the same page with respect to those concerns. But they're there as resources. So Jan Hubbs, it would be one that if you're wanting to give some feedback, she'd be a great one. She's the graduate and professional lead for the functional side for this. Okay. No questions? All right, so graduate recruiting. I want to make sure I'm on time here. So the CRM implementation will follow, will allow for recruiting efforts even down to the program level. So that's pretty exciting. You don't have to just do it at the college level. You could even do recruiting efforts down to the program level, which is where graduate departments really need that to be able to do that. You can import lists. So, whether from GRE, if you do name buys, or lists from other areas that professional organizations or whatever that you might be able to import into the system so that you can put them in as prospective students and start the communication process with them. There's also a way, now I was going to show it, but it hasn't been branded yet, so it just looks very plain. They're working on a request for information. So individuals can go out and we can put that out on your website, and that data can feed into the student or into the CRM, and then can trigger certain events like automated emails. And your ability, as was mentioned, to score people based on interest, based on activities that they've done. You can score their level of interest so that you're focusing your time on individuals that your efforts will be more fruitful. So you're working much smarter, as well as being able to assign, to certain individuals, which is really important at the undergraduate level because we do some territory management. So if you're needing to assign tasks to certain individuals as far as follow-up goes. Our UF Online One-Stop Center and our Recruitment and Outreach Center has been using the Salesforce product for a couple of years now. They've really developed it in the recruitment side. And so it's really nice to have something in-house where they've started doing it. Now, granted, they have a little bit different model than our undergraduate recruitment, but they are very similar to some of the graduate departments with respect to the recruiting and outreach pieces. So we're going to use a lot of the way that the system has been configured as a starting place with that. But we also, with Enrollment RX, have a lot of benefit from having multiple. So here is a sneak peek. This is a screen where it talks about an open house. So you can kind of see what it looks like. You've got, this is the September open house. This is information about it, where it's being planned, so you can do event planning. So if you've got some open house functionality with, or you're bringing people in, you maybe even do fly-ins. I don't know what you do in your departments, but you can set up some of those. It could even be a registration for a webinar. If you want to track who's been on one of your interest webinars, and they register for it. It's a way for us to get that information about those individuals. So it's not just event information, but it's merging it with individuals, the attendees, and then it helps to say, okay, attendance at this event or shows this kind of interest for the student. So that's kind of what it looks like from just a user standpoint. Now this is obviously just in development. So, and then this is an automated email that actually came out of that of the system where we've been using the Marketing Cloud. So it was asked if we're going to use Pardot, which is an email providing services. We're actually using the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. But this is a way that you could customize an email for your department that would automatically be sent as someone expresses interest in your major. So it's not you saying, okay, we've got all these students, let's run it through and generate an email or whatever. And you can also, you see all these links. You can include links in it. You can also direct them so that if they click on any of these, it will score them appropriately. It'll show that they have interest in certain things. So this is pretty exciting functionality. Like I said, this is something that's just being worked on in the undergraduate area. But as soon as we go live with this, we'll be pulling in graduate departments to start developing this, getting appropriate people trained so that you can use this functionality as well. Any questions on CRM? I wanted you to see that we're not just sitting around talking to one another. We're actually out there building some things and trying to deliver on some things as quickly as we can to provide some added functionality. Recruiting and admissions, application for admission, that begins after the freshmen go live, which is next month. We are using a third-party product called CollegeNet. We will be developing it so it will route to, based on the student's completion, those applications will route to the various colleges. You'll be able to have committee decisions. All of those things will be available to you. We are using a combination of an application and the CRM together for decisions. And then when decisions are made, those will flow into the student information system, which will then allow for those other things like registration to occur. Yes. You'll be able to upload. It will have upload capability not only at the student level. So you may require the student to do it, or you may provide a link for direct input of recommendations. That information will feed not only into application, but CRM, the combination of the two. Yes, ma'am. The admissions application? It will look different, yes. It will look a lot different. Yes, but that hasn't been determined what it's going to look like. We haven't designed it yet, but it will look different than what you're seeing now because that's you're not going to see it through NerdSea and what's been built on NerdSea. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. The question was, when we talk about CollegeNet, is it a common application or is it a UF specific? So there are two flavors. At the freshman level, we are part of the Coalition for Access, Affordability, and Success. That is a common application for all coalition schools. So students can go in and see all the schools. They can fill out bio-demo information once, and then any specific information for the University of Florida, they would fill out like residency and things like that in questions we have specific. But at the graduate level, it will be a UF version of the CollegeNet product. It won't be a common application. Now, those professional schools that are using CAS will still continue to use CAS. We just will do the integrations from the CAS system, whether it be PharmCAS, AMCAS, all of those CAS systems. Not CAST. It's not, this is CAS, C-A-S. I don't want to get that rumor out there. It's based on AMCAS or PharmCAS, where those are common application systems. They will continue to do that because they're very closely tied with those, and we will just interface bringing that data in. One of the things that will be nice about having this is we'll be able to get a better view of system-wide of our application. I talked with Rick Bryant just yesterday about this particular, the application for admission and how he plans to bring in individuals from at the graduate level. Many of you have worked with Rick for years. He's a great partner in this, and now in his new role as Director of Admissions Operations, I'm really looking forward to him really taking the lead on this. And so he will be the main person with support for the CollegeNet application. So that's very exciting. Any other questions about application? Okay, I'm going to wrap up, folks. How do we know what's going on? There are ways that you can learn about what is going on. Let's see, where am I? I have 4 minutes. All of these places, the Infogator, there's the Compass newsletter, there's the website, there's these types of information sessions. We'll continue to have those. Please look for those as well. There is one, so how can you have a part to play. Giving us your feedback, providing us information. If you're frustrated about something, let us know. Being actively involved in the training process is really important. So I'm going to skip ahead because I really want to show you this. I think it's a great little video. About why change is so hard. Can you mute? I think it's coming on.
You hear something a lot about change, and that is that people don't change because they're too lazy. I want to go to bat for the lazy people for a second, because I think that what looks like laziness is often exhaustion. Let me tell you about a fascinating study in psychology. So picture the scene. Some students come into a lab, and it smells amazing. Somebody's just baked fresh chocolate chip cookies. And in front of them is a table, and on the table are 2 bowls. And one of the bowls has the fresh baked chocolate chip cookies. The other bowl has a bunch of radishes. Now, some of the students are asked to eat a couple of the cookies, but to leave the radishes alone. Another group of students is asked to eat several of the radishes, but to leave the cookies alone. Now, while these radish eaters are sitting there nibbling on this rabbit food, the researchers go out of the lab. They're trying to induce temptation. They're trying to see, will these radish eaters sneak a cookie? It's kind of sadistic when you think about it. But the radish eaters are strong. They resist the cookies. Not a single one of them sneaks one. And meanwhile, as you can imagine, the cookie eaters don't experience the same kind of temptation to binge on the radishes. So, study appears to be over. And then both groups are asked to go on to a second step that doesn't appear to be related. It looks like a kind of logic puzzle where they're asked to trace out a complicated geometric shape without raising their pencil above the paper. Unbeknownst to them, this task was designed to be impossible. Can't be done. The researchers simply wanted to see how long they would persist in a difficult task. Well, so the cookie eaters, they try and they try and they try, and they go on for an average of 19 minutes trying to solve this impossible puzzle. The radish eaters, they last on average 8 minutes. Why this huge gap? Well, the answer may surprise you. The radish eaters ran out of self-control. After they were reining themselves in, resisting those cookies, they didn't have enough energy left to rein themselves in to keep doing a frustrating task. And this is something that psychologists have proven again and again. Self-control, in the broad sense of the term, meaning any time we're really monitoring our own behavior carefully, is exhaustible. That helps to explain some common things we all experience, like when we're at work and it's been a really hard day, and we come home and we're more likely to snap at our partners or to eat more than we should. Now, here's why all of this matters for change situations. Because in almost every change situation, what we're doing is we're substituting new, unfamiliar behaviors for behaviors that are older and more comfortable. And that burns self-control. So think of your morning routine, for instance. You have a way, a system for showering and brushing your teeth, and you've been doing it for so long it's unconscious, it's effortless. What if you wanted to redesign the whole thing from top to bottom? You could do it, but it would take tremendous self-control. You would have to monitor yourself every second of the morning, and by the time you got to work, you'd be mentally exhausted. What looks like laziness is often exhaustion. Change simply wears people out. Even well-intentioned people will simply run out of self-control after a while. To learn more about this very interesting research in psychology, come pay us a visit at fastcompany.com/.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. We don't need the advertisement. One of the things I just want you to, the reason I play this is I want you to realize that we're doing some big changes here. You all know that. We recognize that. We understand that if people get a little short or little frustrated, or it's probably that we're reaching that exhaustion point with respect to the change. So give yourself permission to say, okay, I'm just exhausted. It's okay. It's not that I'm a laggard. It's not that I'm resistant to change. It's not that any of that. So think about that as you're going through this, and I've given you a lot of information to think about. And we talked about feelings at the beginning of this. I want you to make sure that you're acknowledging some of that in your own behavior or in people around you. You might be really, really gung-ho about this and really excited, and someone else might seem like they're just not on board. They're not going to do this. But it may be that they're just exhausted by the amount of change. We know that this isn't the only thing you have on your plate. And we recognize that, and we want to make sure that we're sensitive to that with you as well, because this isn't all you do. I know there's a lot of other things that you do at work, at home, and all of that. So please know that if you have questions, concerns, use the website to put that in as information. Use us, use me. I'm happy to visit with you individually if there's a certain concern. If I need to get questions back, use the newsletter to provide information about how the program's going. And once we get those college representatives out there, that will help you as well. Thank you so much. I kept you over your time. I apologize for that. I was a little too windy this morning, but I appreciate your attention and your willingness to attend.